dear. Funny you come back to me, my dear.
Oh hey, glad you can make it on our field trip for today's video, because we're going through the exhibit of Pretty Alright albums.
Wow!
With fairly notable hits such as Cherry Bomb by Tyler the Creator, Rapper Go to the League by 2 Chainz, and Donda by Kanye West. Alright, down the hall is our next destination, which is going to be the Why Were These Albums Ever Created exhibit with only one sole album, Honestly Nevermind by Drake. But before we go through all of that, we have to take a look back at the main piece of the Pretty Alright exhibit, with Gemini Rights from the late blooming singer and musician Steve Lacy, also known as Twitter's coping mechanism for the lack of Frank Ocean. Alright, so going through this album, I'm mainly getting a mix of alt and B with a little bit of neo soul and some muffled vocals from Steve that I did enjoy, even giving hints of a more old school inspiration on the track Helmet, dishing out a nice little rhythm with piano and bass alongside some lyrics about seeing a relationship not really going anywhere and Steve trying to find his own path without his SO. I mean, going through this entire album, it seems like some sort of breakup album in a way, but at the same time it gives hints of maybe Steve trying to get back into that same relationship. I don't know, I don't fully understand it because I get no bitches, but what I can say is that he does seem very consistent throughout this project, sticking to the theme of what seems to be a love-hate relationship and getting over whoever it is to be able to move on forward in one's life. I guess my only thing is that there isn't much that really stands out in my opinion, with maybe the previous single Bad Habit seeming like the most appealing to listen to for me, given this pleasant yet rough edge, with the guitar really taking over the instrumental while Steve goes in on his regrets when finding someone to love. I do also appreciate his vocal range on the track, going between high and low pitch pretty well to fit the key, and also being able to flow pretty well with the instrumental with his own voice, giving me this Miguel Frank Ocean-esque vibe that I also did enjoy. But then going through the production, I would say that this is pretty nice as well. As stated before, it does bounce between the R&B sound and the alternative sound as well, but there's also hints of the wavy trap with the track Cody Freestyle that I did enjoy, with Steve Lacy going in on this very simplistic flow with these echoing vocals in the background that helps to elevate that wavy and spacey feeling that I get when listening to this track. I guess the one thing about this song is that it feels in a way so different from the rest of this album, kind of feeling like an interlude, although it's almost 4 minutes long and actually comes after the actual interlude together, which I honestly thought was a pretty alright track, although it isn't really one of my favorites being honest. If anything, it seems a bit useless maybe? I don't know, it just doesn't really add anything to the album music wise aside from playing into the whole Gemini two-sides relationship thing that circulates this album. Another track I would like to acknowledge, not just on the production but on the feature as well, would be Sunshine, with the upcoming artist Fouché hopping on to deliver some incredible vocals, with it seeming like she's completely taken over the song while Steve stays in the background. The instrumental is very pleasant, with the live drums and bass taking over to create a very nice and well-worked track that is one of my favorites from this album. But overall, this was a pretty alright album. True, there wasn't anything that really wowed me personally, except for the track that Fouché took over in his previous single Bad Habits, but for this to be the first time I actually sat down and listened to a Steve Lacy album, I'm highly impressed and I will be keeping an eye out for whatever he does in the future. So to put this on the scale and giving this a high 7 out of 10, being one of my more favorite projects of the year and a nice gem for Steve Lacy fans. But how do you guys feel about Steve's latest album? What would you rate it? Let me know down in the comments, so like and subscribe, and make sure to follow my IG and Twitter. And if you like this video, make sure to follow the artist as well because she's dope. And on that note, I'll see you on Friday when I try to make an even worse exhibit just to put the big day in. Peace.